close your eyes for just a moment. Let the world outside fade into a soft blur. Feel your breathing slow down, the way it does when you're standing at the edge of something beautiful, something that makes time itself pause. Now imagine this. You're walking down a long, quiet hallway. The walls are lined with warm light that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. There's a scent in the air, faint but unmistakable, like old wood and something floral, something that reminds you of a memory you can't quite place but feel deeply. At the end of this hallway, there's a door. Not grand, not intimidating, just a simple door that feels like it's been waiting for you. You reach for the handle, and as you push it open, you step into a room that takes your breath away. The room of reflections. The space is neither large nor small. It simply is. The light here doesn't come from lamps or windows. It glows from within the room itself, soft and golden, like the last hour before sunset, when everything looks more beautiful than it should. In the center of this room, on a table made of dark, polished wood, sit 4 pieces of jewelry. They rest on velvet cushions, each one distinct, each one calling out in its own silent language. They are not just accessories. They are not just metal and stone. They are energies. They are truths. They are the parts of your soul that rarely get to speak out loud. One piece catches the light and throws it back in gentle waves, delicate, almost shy, like morning dew on petals. Another sits with quiet confidence, its lines clean and purposeful, as if it knows exactly what it is and needs no validation. The third seems to move even while sitting still, its design flowing and free, untamed by convention or expectation. And the fourth carries a weight that isn't heavy, but magnetic, a depth that pulls you in without asking permission. These 4 pieces are waiting, not for your logic, not for your analysis, not for your careful consideration of what would look best or what others might think. They're waiting for something deeper. They're waiting for that small, unmistakable whisper inside your chest. The one that says, without words, without reason, this one. Before we continue this journey together, I want you to do something for me. If you're feeling this pull, if something inside you is already stirring, hit that like button. Not for the algorithm, not because you have to, but because you're choosing to acknowledge what you're feeling right now. You're saying yes to this moment of self-discovery. Carl Jung understood something profound about the human psyche. He knew that our unconscious mind speaks to us, not in words, but in symbols, in images, in feelings that bypass our rational defenses and touch something truer. The jewelry you're drawn to today isn't random. It's your unconscious revealing what your conscious mind might be too busy, too distracted, or too afraid to acknowledge. You see, we walk through life wearing masks, playing roles, meeting expectations. We become so skilled at being what others need that we forget to listen to what we need. But here, in this quiet room, with these 4 pieces of jewelry waiting. There are no expectations. There is no judgment. There is only you and the truth of this present moment. And here's something I need you to know before we go further. Something that might surprise you. The piece you choose today will reveal not just who you are, but what season your soul is moving through right now. Because we are not static beings. We shift, we change, we grow. The woman you were last year might have chosen differently. The woman you'll be next year might choose differently still. But today, right now, in this exact moment of your life, one of these pieces is speaking directly to your heart. So take a breath. Let your eyes move across these 4 pieces of jewelry. Don't think. Don't analyze. Just feel. And when you're ready, when that small click happens inside your chest, you'll know. Now let me tell you about each one. Let me show you what your choice reveals about the landscape of your inner world. If you found yourself drawn to the delicate ring, the one that catches light like morning dew, the one that seems almost too fragile to exist in this harsh world, then listen closely. There is something profound happening inside you right now. You carry a rare kind of strength, the kind the world often misunderstands. In a culture that celebrates loudness, aggression, and constant motion, you move differently. You move like water finding its path, like light filtering through leaves, like breath entering a quiet room. People have probably told you that you're too sensitive, that you feel too much, that you need to toughen up, grow thicker skin, stop taking things so personally. But here's what they don't understand. Your sensitivity isn't weakness. It's a superpower that most people have lost or never developed. You experience life in high definition. Where others see a room, you see the way shadows fall across the floor. Where others hear conversation, you hear the tremor in someone's voice that reveals what they're really feeling. Where others rush past moments, you inhabit them fully, completely, with your whole being. This delicate ring represents the part of you that refuses to harden despite everything you've been through. And you have been through things. You have faced disappointments that could have closed your heart permanently. You have encountered people who took advantage of your kindness, who mistook your gentleness for weakness, who tried to dim your light because it made them uncomfortable. But here you are, still soft, still open, still capable of wonder. Your heart is like this ring, carefully crafted, holding more strength in its delicate structure than most people carry in their armor. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be aggressive to be strong. You don't need to be hard to be unbreakable. The truth about you that I need you to hear: you are not too much. You never have been. The people who couldn't handle your depth, your emotion, your genuine care, they weren't too little either. They were simply not your people. They were travelers passing through your life, teaching you the painful but necessary lesson of discernment. Because here's what happens when you're someone who feels deeply. You attract 2 types of people. The first type recognizes your light and wants to bask in it, to grow beside it, to honor it. The second type sees your light and wants to consume it, to take from it until there's nothing left. Learning to tell the difference, that's your journey right now. If you chose this ring, your soul is asking for something specific in this season of your life. It's asking for gentleness. Not from others, though that would be nice. From you, toward yourself. You've been pushing too hard, moving too fast, trying to be stronger than you need to be. Your soul is whispering, rest. Slow down. Let yourself be held by the quiet moments. Let yourself cry when you need to cry. Let yourself feel without immediately trying to fix or understand or move past. In relationships, you don't need fireworks. You need safety. You need someone who understands that your silence isn't distance, it's depth. You need someone who can sit with you in the quiet spaces and not feel the need to fill them with noise. You need someone who sees your delicate ring and doesn't try to replace it with something bigger, flashier, more impressive. Someone who understands that the most valuable things are often the most subtle. Your healing right now comes from softness. Warm baths, gentle music, time in nature, conversations that don't demand anything from you, spaces where you can simply be without performing, without proving, without protecting. You are the delicate ring. You are morning light. You are the first breath after a long sleep. You are proof that gentleness is not weakness. It's the bravest way to move through a world that constantly demands we harden. And anyone who gets to love you, really love you, will understand that they're not holding something fragile. They're holding something precious. There's a difference. If your attention was drawn to the structured necklace, the one with clean lines and intentional design, the one that sits with quiet confidence around the throat, then there is something deeply grounded happening within you right now. You are not someone who gets lost in chaos. You are not someone who crumbles under pressure. You are not someone who needs external validation to know your worth. There is an inner architecture within you, a framework that holds steady even when everything around you shakes. This isn't rigidity. This isn't coldness. This is clarity. This is knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. The structured necklace represents the part of you that has learned through experience and sometimes through pain that boundaries are not walls. They're the foundation of authentic connection. You've learned that saying no to what doesn't serve you is how you say yes to what does. People might call you intimidating. They might say you're too independent, too self-sufficient, too hard to read. But what they're really saying is that they can't manipulate you. They can't guilt you. They can't make you small enough to fit their limited understanding of who you should be. You see through pretense immediately. You have no patience for games, for manipulation, for people who say one thing and do another. Your bullshit detector is finely tuned, and it has saved you from countless situations that would have drained your energy and compromised your integrity. Here's what most people don't understand about you. Your strength didn't come from never falling. It came from learning how to stand back up with dignity. It came from the moments when you had to choose between being liked and being respected, and you chose respect. It came from the times you walked away from situations that looked good on paper, but felt wrong in your soul. You're a builder, not of castles in the air, but of real, tangible structures in your life. You build careers with intention. You build relationships with honesty. You build a life that reflects your values, not society's expectations. This necklace sits at your throat, the center of communication, of truth-telling, of speaking your reality into existence. And if you chose it, your soul is telling you something important. It's time to use your voice even more powerfully than you already do. There's something you've been holding back, some truth you've been softening to make others comfortable, some boundary you've been afraid to set because you don't want to seem difficult or demanding. But here's what I need you to understand. Your voice, your truth, your boundaries, they are not negotiable. They are not up for debate. They are not something you offer to the world for approval. In relationships, you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone to complement you. You need a partner who has done their own work, who shows up consistently, who doesn't need you to fix them or save them or be their therapist. You need someone who sees your structure and doesn't try to break it down. Someone who understands that your independence isn't a challenge to overcome, it's a gift to honor. If you chose this necklace, you're in a season of powerful alignment. You're looking at your life with clear eyes. You're seeing what works and what doesn't. You're making decisions that might look cold to others, but feel like integrity to you. You're cutting away what no longer serves you, not with anger or drama, but with the quiet certainty of someone who knows their own worth. Your healing comes from organization, from creating systems that support you, from saying no without guilt, from building a life that runs on your terms, not on constant crisis and chaos. You are the structured necklace. You are clarity. You are the backbone that holds when others collapse. You are proof that strength doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists, undeniable and real. And before we continue, I need to pause here for something important. If this journey is resonating with you, if you're feeling seen in ways you rarely experience, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, not just for more content, but because you're choosing to invest in your own self-understanding. You're saying yes to more moments of clarity, more insights into your unconscious patterns, more tools for living authentically. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because what we're building here is a community of people who refuse to live on the surface, and you belong here. If you felt pulled toward the flowing bracelet, the one that moves like water, like wind, like something that cannot and will not be contained, then there is a wild, living truth inside you that refuses to be domesticated. You are not made for boxes. You are not made for rules that make no sense. You are not made to live a life that looks good on Instagram, but feels dead inside. There is a freedom in you that terrifies people who have spent their whole lives playing it safe. Your ability to change direction, to start over, to walk away from what no longer feels true, it makes people uncomfortable because it reminds them of their own cages. But you cannot live in a cage, even a golden one, even one that promises security and approval and a clear path forward. Because for you, the only real security is the freedom to follow your soul wherever it needs to go. This flowing bracelet represents the part of you that moves with life instead of against it. You don't fight the current, you become it. You don't resist change, you dance with it. People have probably called you unpredictable, flaky, unable to commit. But that's not true. You commit deeply to what feels alive and true. You just refuse to commit to what feels dead, no matter how much sense it makes on paper. Here's what they don't tell you about being someone with a wild spirit. The world will try to tame you in 1,000 subtle ways. It will offer you comfort in exchange for conformity. It will promise you safety if you just stop asking questions, stop seeking more, stop disrupting the status quo. And there will be moments, maybe you're in one right now, when you'll be tempted to accept that deal. When you'll think, maybe it's time to settle down, grow up, be realistic, stop chasing dreams that make no logical sense. But every time you have tried to shrink yourself, every time you've tried to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be, what happened? You withered. You lost your color. You felt like you were dying slowly from the inside out. Because you are not meant to live a small life. You are not meant to follow a path that someone else has walked 1,000 times before. You are not meant to be predictable, manageable, easy to understand. You are meant to create your own path, even if you have to cut through the wilderness to do it. The bracelet flows around your wrist, the place of action, of creating, of reaching out and touching the world. And if you chose it, your soul is telling you something crucial. It's time to move. Maybe you've been stuck in a situation that no longer serves you. Maybe you've been waiting for permission that will never come. Maybe you've been trying to make something work that was never meant to work in the first place. But here's the truth that will set you free. You don't need permission. You don't need a guarantee. You don't need to have the whole path figured out before you take the first step. You just need to trust that small, insistent voice inside you that keeps saying, there's more. There's something else. There's a life waiting for you that feels like coming home to yourself. In relationships, you cannot tolerate being controlled. You cannot tolerate being made to feel guilty for your need for space, for adventure, for experiences that have nothing to do with your partner. You need someone who is secure enough in themselves that they don't need to possess you. Someone who celebrates your wildness instead of trying to tame it. Someone who says, go, fly, explore, and I'll be here when you return. Not with resentment, but with curiosity about what you discovered. If you chose this bracelet, you're in a season of breaking free. Maybe from an actual situation, or maybe from old patterns, old beliefs, old versions of yourself that no longer fit. You are shedding skin. You are becoming. You are allowing yourself to be in process instead of finished. Your healing comes from movement, from trying new things, from going to places you've never been before, from saying yes to opportunities that scare you a little, from trusting that you are always exactly where you need to be, even when the path looks nothing like you planned. You are the flowing bracelet. You are wind and water. You are the untamed spirit that reminds us all what freedom really means. You are proof that the only way to truly live is to follow the truth inside you, even when it leads you somewhere unexpected. And anyone who tries to hold you too tightly will lose you. But anyone who loves you with open hands will have your heart forever.
If you chose the deep earrings, the ones that frame your face with quiet intensity, the ones that carry weight without heaviness, then there is something profoundly magnetic happening within you right now. You are not someone who needs to announce their presence. You simply arrive and the room changes. Not because you try, not because you perform, but because your energy speaks in a language that goes beyond words. There is depth in you, real depth. The kind that comes from living, from surviving, from choosing yourself even when it cost you everything, from walking through fire and emerging not burned, but refined. These earrings sit close to your ears, the organs of listening, of receiving, of understanding what is spoken and what remains silent. And if you chose them, your soul is revealing something powerful. You see what others miss. You hear what others ignore. You understand what others cannot or will not acknowledge. People feel exposed around you, not because you judge them, but because you see them, really see them, past the masks, past the stories, past the carefully constructed personas. You see the truth underneath, and that level of perception is both your gift and your burden. Here's what makes you different from most people. You don't do surface. You can't. Even when you try, even when you think it would be easier to just have light, casual connections, you can't sustain them. They bore you. They drain you. They feel like a waste of your precious time and energy. You need depth in conversations, in relationships, in experiences. You need to touch the bone of things, to get to the marrow, to understand not just what is happening, but why. Not just who people appear to be, but who they really are. This makes you intense. People have probably told you that. They've probably asked you to lighten up, to not take everything so seriously, to just relax and have fun. But you do have fun. You just have fun in the depths, not in the shallows. You find joy in meaningful conversation, in genuine connection, in moments of truth that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The deep earrings represent the part of you that has stopped apologizing for your intensity. You've learned, probably through painful experience, that your depth is not a flaw. It's your superpower. You've learned that the right people, your people, they don't need you to dim your light. They don't need you to pretend to be less perceptive, less intuitive, less aware. They appreciate your ability to see them fully and love them anyway. But here's something you need to understand about yourself right now. Your depth can sometimes become isolation if you're not careful. Because when you see so much, when you understand so much, it can be tempting to retreat into yourself, to decide that no one else operates at your level, that connection is impossible, that you're better off alone. But that's not true, and your soul knows it. You're not meant to be alone. You're meant to find the few, the rare ones, the people who can match your intensity, who can swim in the deep waters with you, who can handle the full force of your presence without drowning. In love, you don't need someone perfect. You need someone real, someone who has done their own inner work, someone who isn't afraid of shadows because they've faced their own. Someone who can look you in the eyes and not flinch from what they see reflected back. You need someone who understands your silence isn't distance, it's depth. That your questions aren't challenges, they're invitations. That your intensity isn't too much, it's exactly right for someone who is ready for real love. If you chose these earrings, you're in a season of powerful self-recognition. You're seeing yourself clearly, maybe for the first time in a long time. You're understanding your patterns, your wounds, your gifts. You're integrating all the parts of yourself that you've kept separate, the light and the shadow, the strong and the vulnerable, the knowing and the still learning. Your healing comes from honoring your depth instead of trying to shallow it out, from seeking quality over quantity in all areas of your life, from saying no to anything that doesn't meet you at your level, from trusting that your intensity is not a barrier to connection, it's the gateway to the kind of connection that actually matters. You are the deep earrings. You are gravity and grace. You are the magnetic pull that draws people in without trying. You are proof that true power doesn't announce itself. It simply exists, undeniable and real. And anyone who gets to stand beside you, anyone who gets to be seen by you and loved by you, they will understand that they've encountered something rare. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And in a world of surfaces, realness is the most valuable thing there is.
Now that you've walked through these 4 inner landscapes, these 4 aspects of your soul, I want you to understand something crucial. You are not just one of these pieces. You are all of them. The delicate ring, the structured necklace, the flowing bracelet, the deep earrings, they all exist within you. They are not separate identities competing for dominance. They are different seasons of your soul, different energies that rise and fall depending on what your life requires in any given moment. There are days when you need to be the ring, soft and gentle, allowing yourself to feel deeply without judgment. There are days when you need to be the necklace, structured and clear, making decisions with certainty and setting boundaries without guilt. There are days when you need to be the bracelet, flowing and free, breaking away from what constrains you and following the call of your wild spirit. And there are days when you need to be the earrings, deep and magnetic, seeing through to the truth of things and demanding authenticity in all your connections. The piece you chose today doesn't define you forever. It reveals what is speaking loudest in your soul right now. Maybe you're in a season where gentleness is what you need most. Maybe you're in a season of building and structuring your life with intention. Maybe you're in a season of breaking free and rediscovering your wildness. Maybe you're in a season of depth, of integration, of becoming more fully yourself than you've ever been. All of these seasons are necessary. All of these energies are valuable. All of these aspects of you deserve to be honored. And here's something I need you to know. The world will try to tell you that you should be consistent, that you should pick one way of being and stick to it, that changing, evolving, cycling through different energies, that's instability. But that's not true. That's not how the soul works. The soul is not linear. It's cyclical. It moves like the seasons, like the moon, like the tide. It expands and contracts. It opens and closes. It reaches out and pulls in. And learning to honor these cycles, learning to give yourself what you need in each season instead of what you think you should need, that's the path to wholeness. So here's what I want you to do after this video ends. I want you to sit with what you've discovered. Don't rush to analyze it. Don't immediately try to figure out what it means or what you should do differently. Just let it settle. Let it become part of your awareness. Let it inform how you move through the next few days, the next few weeks. Notice when you need gentleness and give it to yourself. Notice when you need structure and create it. Notice when you need freedom and take it. Notice when you need depth and seek it. Your soul knows what it needs. It's been trying to tell you, and today, through the jewelry you chose, it spoke in a language you could finally hear. Now, I want to hear from you. Which piece called to you today? Was it the delicate ring, the structured necklace, the flowing bracelet, or the deep earrings? Drop a comment below and tell me, not just which one you chose, but how it made you feel, what it revealed, what it confirmed that you already knew but needed to hear. Because here's the thing about this community we're building. It's not just about me talking to you. It's about us creating a space where we can all be seen, where we can all share our truths, where we can all support each other in becoming more fully ourselves. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Your insight might help another person understand themselves more deeply. Your courage to share might give someone else permission to do the same. And if you found value in this journey, if something shifted inside you, if you felt seen in a way you rarely experience, I have one more request. Share this video with someone who needs it. You know who they are. That friend who's been struggling to understand themselves, that sister who's been feeling lost, that person in your life who needs to hear that they're not alone, that they're not too much or too little, that they're exactly as they should be. Send them this video. Tell them, this helped me understand myself better. Maybe it will help you too. Because the work we're doing here, it's not just personal, it's collective. Every person who wakes up to their authentic self, who honors their inner seasons, who stops apologizing for who they are, they make it easier for the next person to do the same. Before we end, let me leave you with this. You walked into a room today, a quiet room where 4 pieces of jewelry waited. You made a choice, not with your mind, but with your soul. And in that choice, you learned something about yourself, something true, something valuable. But the room is always there. The jewelry is always waiting, and you can return whenever you need to, whenever you want to check in with yourself, whenever you need to remember who you are beneath all the noise and expectations and roles you play. Your soul speaks in symbols, in images, in feelings that bypass logic and touch something deeper. And learning to listen to that language, learning to trust what resonates, even when it doesn't make rational sense, that's how you find your way home to yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing to know yourself more deeply. Take care of yourself gently. Honor whatever season you're in. Trust the wisdom of your own soul. And remember, you are not just one piece of jewelry. You are the entire collection. You are delicate and strong. You are structured and free. You are flowing and deep. You are all of it. Always have been, always will be. Until next time, keep listening to that quiet voice inside. It knows the way.